The topic for this video is long division with polynomials. Before we talk about how to do long division with polynomials, let's first talk about vocabulary for long division. So, vocabulary for long division, let's quickly do an example of long division of 16 divided by 3. And we'll use that to talk about the vocabulary. So if I wanted to do 16 divided by 3 long division, I first put my little long division symbol. Inside I put the 16. Outside goes the 3. Okay. 3 divided by 16 is 5. So I do 16 divided by 3, I can get 5 out of that. And then you do 5 times 3 to get 15. I'm going to subtract the 2 to get 1. So 16 divided by 3 is 5 remainder 1. Vocabulary here. The 16 is called your dividend. Your 3 is called your divisor. That 5 is your quotient. And the thing we end up with here at the end, that is called your remainder. Pause the video here to take notes. Hit play when you're ready. Okay, let's get back to the topic for today then. So we are talking about long division with polynomials. In order to do specifically, we're going to be talking about how to do long division with polynomials. Here are the steps. Just like in our previous example, the first thing you're going to do is divide. Next thing you're going to do is multiply. Next thing you're going to do is subtract. And for longer division problems, you're just going to repeat these steps until our remainder has a smaller degree than our divisor. This is with polynomials. And finally, our last step will be you write plus remainder divided by divisor. Pause the video here, write these steps. I would, if you have either colored pens, colored pencils, or markers, I would write using different colors for these 3 steps. Pause the video here, hit play when you're ready to continue. All right, so let's do an example of long division with polynomials. So I'm going to do the example of this example of this long polynomial. I'm going to divide that whole polynomial by this smaller polynomial using long division. So this one goes on the inside of our long division sign. So you have 1x to the 4th plus 3x to the 3rd plus 5x squared plus 1x plus 2. One thing you should notice is it goes x4, x3, x2, x1, and then no x's. If one of the x4, x3, x2, x1, if one of those are missing, like let's say, for example, I asked you to divide something that looked like that by that, you would just leave a blank space on the inside of this long division sign. All right, now we put this one here on the outside. Okay, so a quick reminder on our steps. Steps are going to be divide, multiply, then subtract. Okay, so let's do that. Step 1, I'm going to divide. And specifically, what I'm going to divide is the first term of my dividend by the first term of my divisor. So I'm going to divide this one and this one. Okay, 1 divide 2 is 0.5. x4, x to the 4th power divided by x is x to the 3rd power. Okay, there's my divide. Next step I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply. And what you're going to do is you're going to multiply the quotient you just got, or this last term in the quotient, by our entire divisor. So last term in the quotient multiplied by our entire divisor. Okay, so 0.5x to the 3rd times 2x. Well, 0.5 times 2 is 1. X to the 3rd power times x is x to the 4th power. So 1 x to the 4th power. Okay, that's that one times that one. Okay, now we got to do 0.5x to the 3rd times 4. 0.5 times 4 is 2. Positive 2. And then x to the 3rd, there's nothing here, so we still have x to the 3rd. All right. So our last term in our quotient times our entire divisor becomes this. Our next step is to subtract. I'm going to subtract my entire dividend by the thing I just got from multiplying. So this entire line, subtract what I just got from my multiplying. All right, so 1x to the 4th minus 1x to the 4th is 0, so nothing here. 3x to the 3rd, subtract 2x to the 3rd, becomes 1x to the 3rd. 5x squared minus nothing is still our positive 5x to 5x squared. 1x, subtract nothing over here, still becomes positive 1x. 2 subtract nothing is still 2. Okay? So right there, that was my step. Right there, I just did step 1, 2, and 3, I divided, multiplied, and subtract. And now I'm going to repeat these 3 steps until the degree of my remainder is smaller than the degree of my divisor. This word right here, degree, talks about the exponent. So you're going to repeat steps of 1, 2, 3 until the exponent of your remainder is smaller than the exponent of your divisor. In our example right here, our divisor has exponent 1. This is x to the first power. So you're going to keep on doing this until your remainder, somewhere down here, has an exponent smaller than 1, until basically there's no x's. Okay, so let's repeat. Back to using red, we're going to divide. Okay, and once again, I am dividing the first term in my dividend by the first term in my divisor. So this one divide this one. 1 divided by 2 is once again positive 0.5. x3 divided by x is x to the 2, or x squared. So divide, then multiply. We're multiplying the last term up here, our last term in our quotient, by our entire divisor. So 0.5 times 2 is 1. X squared times x is x to the third. And then 0.5x squared times 4 becomes 2x squared. One thing you might be noticing is that the ones right underneath each other, that first one is always going to end up being the same. All right, so I've divided, I multiplied, so to purple, we're going to subtract. We're subtracting this whole thing here by the whole thing we just multiplied. This one, subtract this one, is 0. 5x squared, subtract 2x squared is 3x squared. 1x minus nothing is still positive 1x. 2 subtract nothing is still positive 2. Okay, do I stop yet? Right now, this is my remainder. And it has x squared. This is x to the first power. So I do not stop yet. I stop when this one here is smaller than my divisor. Okay, so repeat again. We're going to divide our first term of our quotient by the first term in our divisor. 3 divided 2 is positive 1.5. X squared divide x is x. Multiply the last term in our quotient by our entire divisor. Okay, 1.5x times 2x. 1.5 times 2 is 3. X times x is x squared. And notice they end up being the same again. 1.5x times 4, that ends up being 6x. After multiplying, our step is going to be subtract. Subtract that whole line by this whole line. 3x squared subtract 3x squared is 0. 1x subtract 6x, negative 5x. 2 subtract nothing is still 2. Okay. So far right now, my remainder is exponent 1. My remainder here is, my divisor here is exponent 1. I do not stop yet. All right. I now divide first term here in my quotient by my divisor. Negative 5x divide 2x. Negative 5 divide 2 is negative 2.5. X divide x, there's no more x's. Okay, so negative 5x divide 2x gives me negative 2.5. I'm going to multiply our last term in our quotient gets multiplied by our divisor. Negative 2.5 times 2x is negative 5x. Negative 2.5 times 4 will get me 10. Negative 10. All right. After multiplying, our next step will be subtract. Negative 5x subtract negative 5x is 0. 2 subtract negative 10. Subtracting a negative is the same thing as adding. So 2 subtract negative 10 is 12. All right. At this point, my remainder, 12, has a smaller degree than my divisor. 12 has a degree of 0, because this is 12x is 0. And this has degree 1. So I stop when my remainder has a smaller degree than my divisor. Right, so we just finished this step that says repeat steps 1 through 3 until degree of remainder is smaller. That symbol means is smaller than degree of divisor. Last step, write plus remainder divided by divisor. So up here, I'm going to write plus my remainder, 12, over my divisor. And there you have it. So, long story short, this thing right here, 1x to the fourth plus 3x to the third plus 5x squared plus 1x plus 2 divided by 2x plus 4 equals 0.5x to the third plus 0.5x squared plus 1.5x minus 2.5 plus 12 divided by 2x plus 4. Pause, take whatever notes you need to.